I guess when I was younger, I might have enjoyed what you're doing, but today I wouldn't. You couldn't make me do what you're doing. You couldn't. You'd have to beat me with a stick every day to do what you're doing. Hey everyone, welcome back to my next video. As you can see, this is another remote video, and with me today is Brian, who is really a adventurous guy, and he's really got a story to tell. So, Brian, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm really excited to be here. This is great. I've actually followed your channel, and I used to watch you and listen to your stories back when I lived in the house in Denver 5 years ago.
You know, a lot of us say we're adventurous, but you're the real deal. I mean, what you're doing, to my mind, is real adventure. There's an element of risk to it, and much more than most of us. So, you are a nomad, is that right? And you've been on the road for a while. How long have you been on the road?
Well, I hit the road on July 5th, 2015, and my original plan was just to be on the road for a year because what I wanted to do is I wanted to leave the big city and I wanted to find a small mountain town to settle into. And so I spent my time for that first year just jamming all over Colorado and Utah and also northern New Mexico and a little bit of Arizona. And that year came up and I thought, man, I don't think I want to stop doing this. And so, because I felt like I was just getting going and just hitting my stride. And so, ever since then, it's just been just never looking back. I've been having so much fun living this way. It's like breathed a bunch of new life into me and a bunch of fresh air, especially at a time when there's a lot of stress. It's just so nice to be out here and living free.
Right. I warn people all the time that this life is addictive, and
Yeah.
once you head down this road, sometimes it's hard to leave.
Yeah, I tell people, I'm like, it's the best thing that ever happened to me, but it's also made me realize that all of my past beliefs and past perceptions were maybe a little bit off base.
I like to think of it as an adventure, not just on the outside, the living in the vehicle, the living in a tent like you do, and but it's also an adventure on the inside, and you become a different person if you will allow it.
I agree 100%. That's what I tell people. A lot of people ask me what's the most profound thing that I've seen or experienced, and it's not the nature landscapes, even though those are extremely profound and incredibly beautiful. It's the change on the inside and like the walls that have been broken down from living this way and just the new perspectives that have been derived from these experiences and meeting other people that I might not have thought I had anything in common with, and come to know that I have a bunch of stuff in common with, and we both love the same things. And it just makes you see that the world's a big place, but it can also be a very small place, an intimate place with really meaningful connections. And that was something that I felt like I missed out on in my previous way of living. And coming out to live in this way now, like I said, that breath of fresh air, it's like those connections and those people have helped me become a better person.
You've been documenting your travels through your
Mhm.
YouTube channel, and when did you start that, and what is its name?
Well, my YouTube channel, it's Off-Grid Backcountry Adventures. I had been on the road for about 6 months, and a friend of mine that was doing YouTube at the time had said, like, why don't you put your stuff on YouTube? Why don't you document that? And I honestly had never thought about it. I, with my plan of just being on the road for a year to find a place to live, I just thought, well, this is my exploration of finding a cool community to settle down in and reestablish roots. And once I realized that I wasn't reestablishing roots, I thought, well, maybe I should put my name out there and figure out a different way to make income, because I was still relying on the corporate world when I first hit the road, because I still had a small business in Denver that was financing everything. So I thought, well, if I'm not going to go back to Denver and I don't want to settle in a mountain town to where I can run a business out of a home, then I need to find a different way of making money. And so I figured the content creation route was something that was interesting to me, because I have a background in marketing. And I really love figuring out how to make people be interested in something, like to really genuinely capture their attention. And I think through storytelling, that's a great way to do it. And living an unconventional life like this, there's a lot of stories to be told that I think people will find interesting. I never thought somebody would be interested in watching me like make breakfast over a wood stove, because I think it's pretty routine for me, but people love it.
So you started out you just intended to travel for the first year, and what were you traveling in?
So I was in my Toyota Tacoma, which I'm still in now, and it's a 5-foot bed, which posed some challenges with the truck topper, because I'm 6 feet tall. And so initially, when I got in there, I would get in, close up the tailgate, and just kind of crunch up in the fetal position. And after about 2 months of doing that, I realized that wasn't going to last very long. I realized after that I need to find a better way to sleep. So I started doing a platform, and I slept diagonally for 2 years like that, just like questioning my decisions in life. I'd look up, I had about that much space between me and the roof of the truck topper. And I was like, man, I'm really pushing it here. So I finally made this slide out extension on my truck topper to where it goes out 2 feet. And then I can set up a nice comfortable bed that's 7 feet long. And then it slides back in when I want to pack up my truck and go on. So I've been going in that since day one, and I still keep going. I've got 330,000 miles on it now, and those Toyotas just keep trucking. So it's been a good truck. A lot of people asked me when I first got into this, why did I choose the 4x4 truck instead of like a larger van or even like a school bus? A lot of people you'll see in like schoolies and things like that. And my thought process was I always have enjoyed the rugged aspect of really far backcountry, really far off grid, no cell service, not a lot of people going back there. A lot of times it takes 4x4 just to get to some of these trailheads to go hiking. And I've found that that's where I find the most like inner peace and like recharging on my soul for back in there. That's what I need in order to be a better person. There's something about nature that soothes the soul in a way that other environments I've found don't do that. And so I think that's what drawed me to stay out here instead of settling in a mountain town for a year. I thought, I don't want to go into a mountain town where I get into a sticks and bricks house and then yearn to be out here all the time like I do right now. It's like, why not just do this all the time and just bounce around all these different places? And so it's been interesting to figure out how to make it work. But as you know, once you do figure out how to make it work, the possibilities of travel and the possibilities of where you get to go and what you can see and what you can experience, it's great. It's like the most freeing feeling that you can have.
Right. And you get the freedom to do what you want. You want to be in the backcountry, and maybe someone else wants to spend their time mostly around towns, but it's freedom to do whatever brings you joy, freedom to find joy. You started to do something a little bit different somewhere along the line. You are now, for example, tell us where you are now.
Okay, so I'm on the edge of the Sangre de Cristo Wilderness area. I'm winter camping in a tent with a wood stove. And I didn't have any winter plans initially when I decided to live mobily. I thought that I would go south and kind of take advantage of like Arizona, maybe even Baja, Mexico, some of those areas in the wintertime, and then come back up here in the summer. But as the winter approached, I thought, I do like winter camping, and I've tried it a couple times. I wonder what it'd be like to live in a tent all winter and just bounce around on public land and have a wood stove. And so I got on Cabela's and I found this tent that I'm in now. It's called the Bighorn 3. And this thing is awesome. It's designed to withstand winds up to 90 miles an hour. It can handle a 5-foot snow load. It's pretty much, I call it my little mansion in the mountains. And after living in my truck all summer, being in 30 square feet, coming into 144 square feet feels like a mansion. So it's like the Taj Mahal for me back here. But it's so nice to like cook over the wood stove, and you wake up in the morning and it's snowing out, and then my Sierra's sleeping on the cot, and I've got coffee going and making some pancakes or something like that. And there's deer prancing outside the tent, which that's what it was like this morning. It's just, those moments are magical.
And how long have you been doing the winter camping out of the tent? The whole time?
This now is my sixth. I'm entering my sixth season. Just figured out the way to winter camp, because working in cold weather environments, especially when you're setting up your tent and it's like 0 out outside in the winters, the ground's frozen, it's a challenge. And so you have to figure out new ways of working and new systems back here other than just regular vehicle camping.
And so are you moving every 14 days?
I usually move about every week. I don't usually move about every 2 weeks. The reason why I move about every week is there's a wood broker where I get all of my hardwoods from. And in the back of my truck, I can get the perfect amount of wood that will last for 1 week. I don't harvest any wood from the forest. A lot of the forests that I camp in Colorado are firewood cutting designated areas only. So you have to actually have a permit in order to cut that wood. And as you know from camping and stuff, a lot of times the wood isn't seasoned properly. And so if you try to burn it, it's not going to burn anyway. So that's why I go through a wood broker. And so that's kind of like my gauge per week. I'll see how I'm doing with firewood. And I'm like, okay, it's about time to move. And it's about every 7 to 8 days.
Really, you're still living awfully cheaply because you're not paying any rent. You're just paying for your wood, and you're probably not even burning hardly any propane.
No. Especially this time of year, I don't burn any propane. I just do the wood, and then just basic food costs and fuel costs. But the nice thing about the winter camping is I stay in one spot. I don't leave, and so I'll get all my wood, I'll get all the water and everything that I need, all my supplies ready for about a week stay, and then I'll just stay in one spot. And I kind of like it's kind of like my hibernation period, to where I get to slow down and kind of recoup from the summer, because it is tough to truck camp all summer and 4x4 truck camp. You're on gnarly trails, and I go hard all summer long. So wintertime's a nice time for me to recoup. I've driven around enough in the wintertime and scouted out all these areas to where I have about 20 spots throughout the American Southwest that I know I can get into in any conditions. And I know which spots of which part of the season to go to where I won't get stuck anymore. So it's taken a while to figure that out, but I guard these locations with my life. Like, I don't tell anybody about where these winter camping spots are, because everybody's like, where do I want to go winter camp? I'm like, well, I don't know. Like, that private land is where I'm at. I don't know. I don't tell anybody. So, but it takes a while to figure that out, because a lot of the trail systems are closed. The Forest Service will come out, and especially if it's a trail system that goes way back in the forest, well, they don't want people driving back in there and then getting stuck. When the conditions are good, they go in, then it's bad and they can't get out. So you really got to know what you're getting into. I wouldn't recommend just going out and, for somebody who wants to winter camp, ease yourself into it, because if you get back in here, you get snowed in, you don't have any supplies, it could get cold and you could die. And that's a reality.
I lived in Alaska for almost my entire life, and so I know I've spent a lot of time outside in the cold and cold camping. And I guess when I was younger, I might have enjoyed what you're doing, but today I wouldn't. You couldn't make me do what you're doing. You'd have to beat me with a stick every day to do what you're doing. And so I guess that would be my question. You just enjoy it so much. Yeah, like you could go down to the desert and live in a tent really, really well, exactly like you're doing now. Yeah. And you just like the cold and the beauty of Colorado in the winter.
Yeah, and I think the one thing I really love, well, there's a couple of things. Number one, the solitude, because in the winter, no one really wants to come out. And I also enjoy the Boy Scout nature of this. I lost that when I was in the corporate world. I feel like I worked way too much. I kind of lost myself. I gained a bunch of weight. I was unhealthy. Didn't go outdoors very often. And then when I started to reconnect with that, it was like you were saying about, living the mobile life. It's addicting. Like starting to camp again and getting outdoors and getting back in nature. It became that addiction again for me. And it was like this healthy addiction. I thought, man, I want more of this in my life. And the winter camping for me is just like taking that to that next level.
You are living the life of a mountain man in 1820, except you're not having to trap to live.
Yeah.
Here we are in 2020.
I feel so fortunate to have this opportunity to live this way.
A lot of people talk about adventure. I do. I talk about adventure. And I've had a few real adventures, but not many. And your every day of the year is that adventure.
Yeah.
The real deal.
And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to commit myself fully. I thought if I'm going to do this experience, I want to do it 365 days a year. And I'm to the point now to where I don't even like being in a house anymore. I don't sleep well when I'm indoors. I'm fortunate to have people embrace my my experiences online with YouTube, because that helps pay for everything. So, I've got a few other revenue streams as well. A lot of people always ask, like, how do you make it work financially? And I would tell people that's probably the hardest piece of the puzzle to figure out, living this way. There's public land everywhere in the West, so it's not hard to find a place to camp, but financially to keep it going, and I think that's where a lot of people may run into roadblocks. And so, if there's any advice that I can offer on that too, I put that up on my channel. Say, hey, there's, if you check your ego, there's a lot of jobs out there you can do when you're on the road.
Yeah. So tell us again your channel.
It's Off-Grid Backcountry Adventures, and I just do YouTube and Instagram. I don't do Facebook or Twitter or anything else. But the main one is YouTube, and then Instagram is just for fun. But they're both Off-Grid Backcountry Adventures. And then same with my website, it's offgridbackcountryadventures.com.
It's having the gumption to do it and finding the way to support yourself along the way.
Those are the two biggest ones. And I tell people, I'm like, you don't need the perfect vehicle, and you don't have to have everything figured out, and it doesn't have to everything be dialed in order to do this. You can figure it out along the way. And it's not as expensive to live out here, so it's not like you need to work 40 hours a week to pay for gas and food. You can work 10 to 15 hours a week and still do plenty fine. The biggest thing for me, the most profound thing for me out here has been the perspective change. And I think that's the thing I'm the most thankful for, is that I do have to say that I was a little bit naive and maybe a little bit ignorant when I was living in the corporate world, because all of the conditioning that I had my entire life, I only saw things one way. And coming out here and figuring out that and experiencing all these different people are meeting all these different people that do things a different way than I do, but we all end up at the same place, which is like personal happiness and personal fulfillment, has taught me so much. And that's one thing that's really, really been beneficial from this lifestyle. It's helped me like slow down, chill out, just be more of a mellow person and be in the now. And I'm very thankful for that, because I can literally say like the 17 years that I spent in the corporate world went by in a blur because I was always worried about the future. Don't saddle yourself with debt. And if you do have a lot of debt, you get out of it, get financial freedom, limit your possessions, and you don't have to go nomad, but I can tell you it will free up a lot of time. And then you can take that time and invest it in whatever you want. It's going to bring fulfillment to your life.
So Brian, thank you so much for sharing your experience with us. I think you're one of the most interesting guys I've ever interviewed. It was just really fascinating to hear your story. Thank you.
Oh, well, thanks, Bob. I appreciate that. And like I said, I've been following you forever. So when I got the email to come on here, I was like, well, this is crazy. This is awesome. So thanks for featuring me on your channel.
You're very welcome. It's my pleasure. My pleasure. So folks, I know you got a lot out of this. I mean, just some amazing thoughts and some information. We're going to have a tour coming up. Brian will shoot a tour and send it to us, and it will come out. So keep your eye out for it. It should be out exactly behind this video, so watch it next. And I think you'll get a lot out of this. Seeing the details that we've talked about here, you'll actually see them. So folks, if you got anything out of this video, like us on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, hit that thumbs up button, and we'll talk to you later. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.